What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Airbender FPV, where we learn to bend the wind one flight at a time. Today we're keeping the newbie news simple. I only want to talk about two new BetaFPV items that actually matter to tiny whoop pilots. First one is the new BetaFPV air camera, and the second one is the Meteor75 Pro FPV Kit, which is the analog ready-to-fly combo. I'll put the links to both of these down in the description so you can check them out for yourself. Let's start with the camera. BetaFPV has a new analog camera called an air camera. The price point is what caught my attention first. It's listed at $9.99, so that's right around 10 bucks. This is something that I would call a beginner purchase if you're brand new and you're buying your first drone. This is for someone that already has a tiny whoop, needs a replacement camera, wants to upgrade their analog setup, or thinking about building a whoop. The air camera comes in 16:9 or 4.3 ratio, and that is probably the most important part of this release. The 16:9 version gives you a wider horizontal view, which could be nice for racing through gates or just seeing more from side to side. BetaFPV says the 16:9 version has a 173-degree field of view, while the 4.3 version has a 141-degree field of view. But here's a beginner-friendly warning. Do not buy the 16:9 version because it sounds better. If your goggles do not support 16:9, the image may look stretched or weird. So before you grab one, make sure your goggles or screen actually supports the aspect ratio you choose. For me personally, I plan on trying the 16:9 version when it comes back in stock. And if I like how it looks and feel, I may start updating some of my BetaFPV drones with this camera. Another thing I like is it has glass lens, weighs about 1.48 grams, and it is recommended for the BetaFPV Air and Meteor whoops. So for builders and repair pilots, this could be a cheap and useful little part to keep your eye on. Again, this is not something that I would say every new pilot need to rush out and go get. But if you already fly analog whoops and you're starting to build or repair your own drone, a $10 camera option is definitely worth looking at. Now let's talk about the second item. This one is much more beginner focused. BetaFPV also released the Meteor75 Pro FPV Kit. This is the analog version. The price is listed at $208.99. So this kit is basically made for someone who wants to get into LPV, but does not already have the radio, goggles, battery, or whoop. In the box, you'll get a Meteor75 Pro VRO3 LPV goggles, Light 2 SC radio, Lava 2 1S 580 mAh batteries, a charger, spare props, spare frame, tools, accessory, and a carry bag. That is important because most beginners don't have any idea how much stuff they'll actually need when they start flying. You do not need just the drone. You need goggles, you need a radio, you need batteries, you need a charger, you need spare props, and you definitely need some way to carry everything. So at $208.99, this kit is interesting because it gives you a full analog setup in one box. Now, is this the cheapest way to get into LPV? I don't know. Probably not, but this is a better hobby grade serious kit versus a toy style beginner kit. As you guys know, I own a Meteor75 Pro, and I think it's one of the best drones that I have. The Meteor75 Pro is a bigger 1S whoop with an 80mm wheelbase, 702 22,000 kV motors, BT 2.0 batteries, and BetaFPV is claiming 6 minutes of flight time. That means this is probably better for someone who wants to fly in the garage, backyard, larger indoor space, or calm outdoor area. This is still a tiny whoop, but it's not as small and tame as a 65mm indoor whoop. So if you're trying to fly in a tiny living room, this may be a little too much whoop for your first flights. But if you have some space or you already spent some time in the sim, this could be a really nice beginner setup. The goggles included are the VRO3 analog goggles. And one thing beginners may like is that they can record DVR footage to a micro SD card. That means you can record your flights, watch them back, and see where you may be improving. The radio is a Light Radio 2 SE, which is not a high-end radio, but for a ready-to-fly beginner kit, it gets you in the air. BetaFPV also says it supports LPV simulators. So that's a big plus for new pilots because the sim time matters. My honest take is, if you already have goggles and a good radio, this kit probably is not for you. You'll be better off just buying a drone. But if you are brand new and you own nothing, and you want one box to get you into analog tiny whoops without jumping into the HD prices, the Meteor75 Pro FPV Kit is definitely worth looking at. So to wrap it up, the air camera is more for pilots who already have whoops, repair their own drones, or thinking about building one. At $9.99, it is a cheap analog camera option, and I'm personally interested in trying the 16:9 version when it comes back in stock. The Meteor75 Pro FPV Kit is more beginner friendly because it gives you the drone, goggles, radio, batteries, charger, spare parts, and a case for $208.99. It may not be the cheapest FPV kit out there, but in my mind, I probably think it's one of the best. But it looks like a solid first series analog whoop setup. I have links to both in the description. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you try the 16:9 air camera? And do you think the Meteor75 Pro analog kit is a good start kit for beginners? This is Airbender LPV, learning to bend the wind, one flight at a time. I'll catch you on the next one.